Hi, I'm Keith Cooper of Northlight Images. This is my second video looking at aspects of selling your prints. Now, a lot of people ask me, where do I sell my prints? I've pointed out in the first video that the real answer to that is who wants to buy your prints, and if you don't think of that, you're going to have difficulties. But let's assume that you have an idea of who wants to buy your prints, but you're looking at selling more prints. Now, first of all, is it really a business that you're setting up? Because if it is a business, it's driven by profit. You need to do marketing. You need to look at your true costs. These are all things that people tend to gloss over when they think, oh, somebody has said, I really like that print. Can I buy it? Well, sure. This is a picture of a flower that I took testing a lens, if I remember rightly, some time ago. It looks very nice. It's quite pretty. Several people have said they like it. Some people said they liked it a lot, so I gave them a copy because I wasn't going to sell it. It was just a test print. Now, that's not a way to run a proper business. I really need to know, how much did it cost me to make this print? How much do I need to sell it for to make a profit? In looking at the cost of making this print, I need to think about the cost of the printer, cost of the ink, cost of the paper. But just as importantly, I need to think about costing my time for it, because there's a big difference between just making the odd print, selling it here and there. Say selling a print every month or so, no great effort. Selling a print a week is a bit more work. Selling a print a day, or even several prints a day, you get from being just doing the occasion, you're a fulfillment business. Your real job is not the artistic side of making prints. Your real job is feeding paper into the printer, taking the prints out and shipping them off. Now, I'll come back to that in a moment, some of the aspects of it. But the key element is it a hobby or are you doing this for profit? If you're doing it for profit, then you really do need to look into marketing in some detail. Now, yeah, some people, they might have holiday shots. So here's an example from the Suffolk coast. That would sell well on the Suffolk coast. No reason not to. If you're not on the Suffolk coast, and we're not, Suffolk coast is where I grew up, but I'm now in Leicester, in the centre of the UK, there's not that much interest. Likewise, there's a shot of misty sunset at Canon Beach in Oregon. Quite a few people have said, yeah, it's a nice picture, but it doesn't really have any great meaning to them unless they know Canon Beach, and so they just look on it as a decorative art. Now, some photographers get really sniffy about this and dislike their work being described as decorative art. I say get over it. If somebody wants to buy a copy of this picture, I don't care what they describe it as, it's a print sale. Now, if that attitude troubles you, then perhaps a print business is not for you. It's also a similar thing when people say, I produce fine art prints. Well, apart from the fact I haven't a clue what fine art prints actually are, I take it to mean decorative prints. It's used as a marketing term to try and sell the prints for a higher price as well, in that this print here is on a nice watercolour paper, whereas this print here is on a glossy photo paper. Now, there are reasons you might choose each. However, this paper has much more of a fine art feel about it. Have a look at how other people do sell prints. What I would say, I should qualify that, don't look at how people try and sell prints. So look at online galleries and all the things like that, which, as I've said, online galleries make money for the people hosting the online galleries, rarely for the people selling the images. Look at people who actually buy prints. You say, I don't know who buys the prints. Take that as your go away job from this. Find out who buys prints, because if you don't know who buys prints, people who buy prints here in Leicester, and there are very few, which is why I don't have a print business here, are different to people who buy prints when they're on holiday or visiting places. Prints either have a personal meaning for someone or they're decorative. If somebody says, I really like that print, it fits in with the decor of my home and the colour scheme, I've got two choices. I can either go, yes, but it's a photograph of such and such, it means whatever, and come up with all the usual pretentious artsy spiel that people come out with, and go, how dare you just use it for decorative purposes? Or I can go, that's nice, take the money. It's how you think about your prints. As I mentioned fine art. There is one aspect of selling prints that does make a difference in using terms like fine art, and that's how much you charge for them. A lot of people think, oh, I can't charge too much for my prints. There is too cheap. If I sell this picture, and I'm just using this as an example because I've left it here. If I sell this picture for a tenner, that's £10, I need to sell 10 of them to make £100. Now the costs of making 10 of them, that's 10 lots of ink, 10 lots of paper, 10 lots of shipping, 10 lots of my time to make the print here. If I sell this picture for £100, that's one print, one bit of paper, one bit of ink. The amount of profit I'm making is far higher. Now, if I'm in the right market, and this is once again that bit about knowing who you're selling to, if I'm in the right market, somebody will happily pay £100 for that picture. I wouldn't, but that's not the point. Similarly, when it comes to shipping prints, as I said, sending out one print a month, no great trouble. Print a week, 10 prints a day, that's a lot of hassle. So how do you send out prints? I just roll them up in tubes with tissue paper, send them out like that. You can send them out matted, but shipping things that don't bend very well is tricky and expensive. Likewise, I always send out prints with a border on them. Now that borderless print, Wells Cathedral, may look quite nice as it is. It's printed borderless purely because I was testing a printer and I can print borderless. I would much prefer to send this print out with a border for mounting. Why is that? Because I want somebody else to mount them. Sending prints out in frames is a recipe for disaster. You will get damage and that's extra cost. So here is one of my prints mounted. Now I've just taken this from the wall in another room. And as you can see, it's got a glass front on it. It's been matted and it's in a wooden frame. Now, I'm careful about moving even this print from one room to here to do this. The idea of trusting this to somebody shipping it, no, not going to happen. Also, when you're sending prints, think of the size of them. Prints like this, they look good. Even bigger prints look better, but very few people have that much space on their walls. Since we're looking at more prints, I've got this printer here, the Canon Pro 200, really nice printer. If I was producing fine art prints for archival purposes, I'd use a pigment-based ink. Now, not necessarily because it's a better looking picture, but because I can say the inks on this picture will last 300 years. And now, I wish I could say I was the least bit concerned whether they will last 200 or 300. I'm not. I'm unfortunately not going to be here. However, some people do worry about stuff like that. And if it enables you to sell your prints for a bit more, then so what? It's about marketing. It's a business. It's about how you sell your prints. One other thing, printer like this, ink cartridges for a printer like this, are quite small. Now printing the odd one or two prints to sale, great, no problem. You're going to be getting through some of these. I think I got about 50 or 60 prints of this size from this set of inks when they first went in this printer. That's going to cost. If I want to do lots of prints, get a bigger printer. Bigger printers have bigger ink tanks, the cost of ink goes down. But all of this sort of stuff is things you'd need to look at as part of your business plan. Oh yes, I did say, if you want to think of it as a business, you need to plan. You need to work out different ways your stuff's going to go out. Anyway, that's just a few aspects of how some of the business of selling prints. I do sell prints. I don't sell them very often. It's not a major part of our business. In some ways, it's a promotional part of the business because it promotes the photography that I do. Because most of the time, I do commercial photography, architectural photography. I send the images off and I never know what happens with them. Occasionally, I get to print images, but it's not that often. That's because I'm running a business as a professional photographer and it's not a hobby. So choose what you want and look into it, plan and see how it goes. Anyway, I hope these short videos are of some use if you're thinking of getting into doing printing and even selling your prints. But above all, I'll go back to that point I made in the first video, know your market. Because if you don't know who's going to buy your prints, what hope have you got of getting them in front of them? So thanks very much. Do have a look at the Northlight website as well. I have lots of business of photography articles that I've written over the years, and I will be making more of these videos. Let me know via the comments or whatever if you find them helpful, or if there are other topics you'd like covering.